I didn't expect to wake up alone. Not that morning. There was no fight the night before. No slammed doors. No cryptic silences. We had pasta. She laughed at my dumb impression of her boss. We even watched that stupid baking show she loves. Everything was boring, normal. But when I shuffled into the bathroom half awake, her earrings were still by the sink. The expensive ones. The ones she never took off unless she was showering or hiding something. There was no note. No text. Just that eerie, echoing quiet. I checked the closet, half empty. The hamper, gone. Her mug wasn't in the sink. Then my phone buzzed. Voicemail. From her. And if I could throw my soul into the trash and slam the lid, I would have after hearing it. Chase, hey, please don't freak out. I didn't want to do this while you were awake. It would have been harder that way. I'm staying with Blaine. Just for now. I need to do this. For clarity. For air. For me. This won't break us. I'll come back soon. Just, please don't do anything stupid. And that was it. No, I love you. No tears. Just clarity and air. She left our marriage like a renter breaking a lease. You know what's funny? I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, rewinding that message like it was some kind of riddle I could solve if I listened close enough. Like maybe if I slowed it down, I'd hear guilt, or hesitation, or something human. But she sounded so calm. So sure. I didn't eat that day. Couldn't. I stared at the cold pasta on the stove until the sun went down. I sat on the porch like a dog waiting for its owner to come back, but the headlights that passed weren't hers. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I was too embarrassed to say the sentence out loud. My wife left me for Blaine. The guy who writes poetry about moonlight and wears sandals in October. The guy she swore was harmless. 2 weeks passed. Every day, I expected a message. Something more. But nothing. She posted on her story like everything was fine. She even uploaded a boomerang of some cocktail with a little flame in it. Meanwhile, I was Googling how long a person could survive on cereal and tap water. Then came the text. Out of nowhere, 2:17 a.m. I'm coming back tomorrow. Please be calm. This didn't break us. That was all. I stayed up all night. I didn't sleep. I didn't shower. I just paced, shaking, angry and pathetic at the same time. And when she finally walked through that door the next afternoon, looking refreshed and rested and like she'd been living a Pinterest lifestyle, she saw what I left for her on the table. She looked at it, looked at me. Then her knees gave out. She collapsed, and I hadn't even said a word yet. I didn't rush to catch her. I didn't even flinch. I just stood there and watched her crumple onto the living room rug like a marionette whose strings had been cut. And honestly, I didn't feel bad. Not one bit. Because that table, what I left there, wasn't just for her. It was for me. It was everything I needed to say without opening my mouth. And now she'd seen it. 3 things sat there, side by side. Her wedding ring, the printed screenshots of her texts with Blaine, and the closed envelope I'd written 3 weeks earlier, when the silence in the house had driven me halfway to insanity. On the outside, in block letters, "Do not open unless you're ready to hear the truth." She tried to speak, but nothing came out. She looked at the ring like it had grown thorns. Her hand hovered over the envelope, then pulled back. She looked up at me, eyes glossy, and whispered, "What is this?" I sat down across from her and finally said something. Calm, flat, like I'd rehearsed it. "That's the part where I get clarity. You said you needed time to think. Well, so did I." Her lips moved like she wanted to throw 1,000 excuses at me at once, but nothing made it out. The silence between us was louder than any argument could have been. She picked up the screenshots and flipped through them. The laughing emojis. The late night, can't sleep, thinking about you, winky face, texts. The one where she told him she couldn't believe she ever settled down so young. That one stung the most. Settled. Like I was a mistake. A placeholder. And maybe I was. She finally reached for the envelope with trembling hands. "I don't want to open this," she said. But I just shrugged. "You already opened everything else in our life without asking. What's one more?" When she opened it, her face changed completely. I didn't write a letter. I gave her a receipt. For a lawyer retainer. Another for a storage unit. And the last, this one she stared at the longest, was a printed email confirmation for a flight. One way. To Anchorage, Alaska. Departing tomorrow. She blinked like she was trying to wake herself up from a nightmare. "You're leaving?" I nodded. "You said you were coming back to fix things. But I don't think you came back for us. I think you came back because Blaine didn't turn out to be the fantasy you thought he was. Her silence was all the confirmation I needed. What she didn't know, what she still didn't know, was that I hadn't been alone while she was gone. And I'm not talking about another woman. No, it was worse. I had found the courage to finally sit down with her sister, Yvette. And Yvette told me everything. Every single thing. Yvette didn't even hesitate when I asked her to meet me. She texted back, "You deserve to know everything," within 5 minutes. That reply alone told me more than I was ready to hear. We met at this quiet diner halfway between our neighborhoods, a place Marla hated. She always said the lighting made her look tired. Funny, that's exactly how I looked when I walked in. Tired, broken, hollowed out. Yvette was already seated, sipping on a black coffee, no cream, no sugar, just like she always took it. She didn't bother with small talk. She just looked me in the eye and said, "You need to know that Marla has been lying to you for a long time, Chase." Blaine wasn't the first. I didn't say anything. I didn't breathe. I just stared at her, waiting for the rest to fall on me like bricks from a rooftop. She continued, "Last summer, you remember when she went to that wellness retreat in Oregon with her college friends? She never went. She flew to Miami. With Trevor. Trevor, her ex. The one she swore was a toxic mistake from her past. The one whose name she couldn't say without spitting. And she chose to go back to him. Chose to lie to me, to lie to her family, and to pretend she'd found inner peace at a spa while she was doing God knows what in Florida." Yvette showed me photos, plane ticket receipts, a screenshot of Marla texting her saying, "Please don't tell Chase. It was just one weekend. I needed to see for myself if there was still something there." Something there? We were married. There shouldn't be anything there anywhere else. That moment shattered something in me. Not just trust, not just love, but reality. I'd built a life with someone who was living a completely different one behind my back. And the worst part? She thought she was clever enough to get away with it forever. When I got home from that meeting with Yvette, I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I sat on the couch and stared at our wedding photo on the mantle. Marla in her off-white dress. Me, beaming like a fool in that cheap rental suit. The vows we wrote ourselves still in a drawer upstairs. Hers written in purple ink, smudged at the edges. Every word a lie. So I started planning. Quietly. Strategically. Like she had done. Only I wasn't looking for an escape. I was setting up an ending. That envelope she opened when she came back. It wasn't just a message. It was a blueprint. A roadmap out of this fake life. But the worst twist hadn't even happened yet. The night she returned, after she collapsed, after the tears, after she begged me not to go, I noticed her phone was buzzing nonstop. So while she showered, I picked it up. And what I saw next made Blaine and Trevor look like child's play. The screen lit up again and again. Same contact. No name, just a number. No emojis. No saved photo. Just a string of numbers that meant nothing to me until I opened the thread. The texts weren't romantic. They weren't flirty. They were something worse. They were practical. Cold. Strategic. This was no affair. This was a plan. He hasn't figured it out yet. I'll play nice for a few days, then push for the refinance again. No, I didn't say anything about the storage unit. He still thinks I left to find myself, faced with tears of joy. Once my name's on the second mortgage, we're golden. He won't even see it coming. My blood froze. My name. My house. She wasn't just stepping out on me emotionally. She was orchestrating something behind my back, something that involved signatures, paperwork, and lies so carefully built they sounded like business emails. I kept scrolling. The person texting her? They weren't asking for updates like some jealous lover. They were coaching her through the process like a partner in crime. Whoever this was, they'd been involved in my wife's double life before Blaine. Before Trevor. Probably before I ever knew there was something wrong. And then I saw it. One text that changed everything. If he gets suspicious, play the collapse card again. You've used it before. Works every time. Collapse. Again? I dropped the phone like it burned me. My knees almost gave out. She faked it. The fall, the way she crumpled on our floor like she'd been overcome with emotion. That was an act? A prop in some twisted performance to keep me confused long enough to sign away everything I owned? I couldn't think straight. I couldn't breathe. She came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping. Smiling. Smiling. Like we were back to square one. Like we were going to talk and heal, and maybe cook dinner together like nothing had ever happened. She asked, "Can we sit down and talk for real this time?" I looked at her. I mean really looked. And I saw it. The tiny flinch when she noticed her phone wasn't where she left it. The flicker in her eyes when she realized I'd seen something I wasn't supposed to. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't a broken marriage. This was a setup. And the woman I married wasn't confused. She was calculating. And I was done playing dumb. I didn't sit down with her that night. I didn't ask questions. I didn't yell. That's what she expected. Emotion, drama, chaos. But I gave her something else entirely. Silence. And that silence? It made her nervous. I could see it in the way she shifted on the couch, the way her eyes darted toward the table like she was checking if the phone was still unlocked. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was just tired. She asked if I still loved her. I told her I didn't know what love even meant anymore. She asked if I wanted tea. I told her sure. And while she was in the kitchen pretending to be the nurturing wife again, I walked upstairs and copied every message from that unknown number onto my own device, screenshot by screenshot, timestamp by timestamp. I sent them all to a hidden email I created after her little wellness retreat last year. I should have trusted my gut then, but now it was too late to undo what she'd done, and just the right time to undo her plans. What she didn't know was that I'd already spoken to a lawyer. A good one. A woman named Raina who didn't blink once when I told her my wife had been using emotional manipulation, staged collapses, and fake reconciliations to push me into refinancing the house in both our names. Raina didn't ask, "Are you sure?" She asked, "Do you have proof?" Now I did. I had everything. Over the next few days, I played the part of the forgiving husband perfectly. I let her stay. I cooked. I let her hold me at night. She even cried once. Real tears, maybe. But they didn't move me. They just made me nauseous. She smelled like the lavender body wash I bought her last Christmas. It used to comfort me. Now, it felt like poison in the air. She started dropping little hints again. About money, about rebuilding, about trust. She even pulled out one of those joint account applications and left it on the coffee table like it was some romantic gesture. "You don't have to fill it out now," she said sweetly. "Just think about it." But while she was busy trying to line me up for the next step in her little con, I was making calls. To a forensic accountant. To a friend at the county office. To her old co-worker from a job she said she left last year. Turns out she was fired for accessing private client information without permission. Everything she built with me, she'd been tearing down behind my back one floorboard at a time. On day 5 of her return, I did something simple. I swapped the keys. Not the locks, just the keys. She didn't notice. I watched her toss hers in her purse, same as always. That night, I waited for her to fall asleep. Then I opened the envelope she thought she'd hidden at the back of her suitcase. Inside, legal documents with my forged signature, applications for financial transfers, an unsigned check with her name printed in the corner, ready for me to sign. She was this close to pulling it off. But I wasn't going to stop her. Not yet. I needed her to think she was still in control, that she still had the upper hand. Because only when people feel truly untouchable do they make their biggest mistakes. And hers was coming. Very, very soon. It happened on a Saturday. That was her mistake, thinking weekends meant I'd be relaxed, vulnerable, maybe even nostalgic. That I'd soften up, let my guard down, and give her what she needed. My signature on the joint refinance document she'd been pushing like a drug dealer offering just one more hit. She planned it carefully, set the mood, lit a candle, made coffee the way I liked it. Even used the vanilla creamer she always claimed was too sweet. She wore the blue sweater I once said made her look like the version of herself I first fell in love with. And when she smiled at me across the kitchen island, I knew it was all choreography. Every word, every move, every glance, rehearsed. She slid the folder across the counter like it was a love letter. "I know things got complicated," she said gently. "But this shows we're building trust again, right?" I didn't even look at the papers. I looked at her, and for a moment, I almost admired the performance. If I didn't know better, if I hadn't seen the texts, the fake collapse, the forged documents, the conversations with that unnamed number, I might have believed her. But I did know better, and I wasn't just planning to say no. I was planning to expose everything. I told her I wanted to think it over in peace, that I needed some fresh air. I took the folder with me and said I was going to the park. She kissed my cheek, soft and quick, and said, "Take your time." But I didn't go to the park. I went to her sister's. Yvette had helped me pull the last few threads together. She hated what Marla was doing, had hated it for years. But blood makes people hesitate. She only stepped in when she realized Marla had gone too far. What she didn't expect was how far. Inside Yvette's living room, it was just me, Yvette, and Marla's two closest friends, Lindsay and Tasha. The same two who had once gushed at our wedding about how perfect we were, how real our connection felt. Turns out, they'd been left in the dark too. They thought Marla had gone on some healing retreat, not a dirty weekend with a man who wasn't her husband. They thought she'd collapsed from heartbreak, not manipulation. So I laid it all out. I showed them the texts, the voicemail, the documents with my forged signature, the receipts from her Miami trip, and finally, the text she sent to her mystery accomplice. If this doesn't work, I'll play the health card again. He always falls for that. Yvette covered her mouth. Lindsay looked like she was going to be sick. Tasha said nothing, just shook her head, slowly, like something inside her had finally snapped into place. And then came the final step. We all got in the car. We pulled into the driveway, just as Marla was lighting another candle. She looked confused at first, like maybe we were throwing her a surprise birthday party 2 months early. But when she saw who was standing behind me, her sister, her two best friends, and a man in a suit holding a folder of evidence, her smile died instantly. "What is this?" she asked, voice sharp, fake laughing. I didn't answer. I just handed her a new envelope. Inside it wasn't a refinance agreement. It was a cease and desist order, an official declaration that I'd begun proceedings for legal protection against financial fraud, and a formal notice that she was being removed from every shared account, pending investigation. Her hands trembled as she read. Her voice cracked when she tried to argue. But this time, there were no backup plans. No Blaine, no Trevor, no collapse to hide behind. She looked at her friends for help. They looked away. She looked at Yvette for defense. Yvette only said, "You earned this." And me? I just stood there, silent. Because for once, silence was the only justice she couldn't fake her way out of. After I handed her that envelope, time slowed. She just stood there, frozen, like the paper in her hands was some kind of hallucination. I almost laughed. This woman, my wife, had spent months scripting and performing her little drama like life was her stage, and now, standing in the middle of a room full of people who actually knew her, the script had finally run out. Marla's lips parted like she wanted to scream. But no sound came, just a single, sharp inhale. Then she tried shifting gears, dropping the furious act, and going for her classic second move. Tears. Crocodile ones. The kind that used to work on me back when I was still naive enough to think a shaking voice meant sincerity. "Please, Chase, can we talk alone?" she whispered, as if this wasn't exactly what she'd done to me, alone, in the dark, for months. But it was too late. The silence was gone. The truth had been said out loud, in front of witnesses. No one would unhear what they heard. No one would unread what they saw. Her control, her carefully maintained illusion, had shattered right there between the coffee table and the flickering vanilla candle she lit for mood. She turned to Yvette, then Lindsay and Tasha, and she tried to spin it. "You don't understand, it wasn't like that. Chase has always been distant. Cold. I just needed space." But Lindsay cut her off. "Space doesn't involve forging signatures, Marla." Tasha chimed in. "Or telling a man to refinance his house while you're texting someone else how to take it from him." Marla's voice rose an octave. I was panicking. I didn't mean to hurt him. I looked her in the eye and said, "You didn't just hurt me. You tried to destroy me." The air in the room felt thick, charged. You could hear her mind scrambling for a new lie, some final twist, anything to get out of this. She even reached for her phone, probably to call the one person she thought might still be on her side. But that number, the one with no name, had already been traced. My lawyer confirmed it earlier that morning. The number was registered to a burner phone, purchased by her coworker. Not Blaine, not Trevor, not even someone I knew. It was another one, a third man, or maybe a fourth. I didn't even want to guess anymore. That was the final blow. She sat down like her legs gave out again. Only this time there was no audience to pity her, no confusion to weaponize, no collapse to manipulate. It was just her, the consequences, and the silence she used to control everyone around her. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't say another word. I walked past her to the front door, and before I left, I looked back one last time. And you know what I saw? Not a woman who made a mistake, but a woman who lost the game she rigged. I left that house without slamming the door. I didn't have to. The sound of it clicking shut behind me said everything. It was the softest, quietest goodbye in the world, and yet it hit harder than anything either of us had ever screamed during the worst of our fights. She didn't follow me out. She knew she couldn't. I didn't go back. Not the next day. Not the next week. Not even when she sent me 3 emails, 2 letters, and a voice message that started with, "I made a mistake," and ended in sobs. For once in my life, I didn't respond. Because for once, I didn't need closure from her. I gave it to myself. The investigation into the forged documents moved fast, faster than I expected, honestly. Raina, my lawyer, was a force of nature. Calm, focused, terrifyingly precise. Within 2 weeks, I had full control of my accounts, a protective clause placed on the house, and the legal leverage to make sure Marla couldn't try anything else behind my back. She didn't fight it. She couldn't. Her own sister, her friends, everyone had seen the truth now. Her support system? Gone. Her mask? Cracked beyond repair. She left town not long after. No goodbye, just vanished, the way people do when they finally have to face themselves without an audience. As for me, I did something small, something quiet. I took a trip. Nothing fancy, just a cabin in Maine, off the grid, surrounded by pine and fog, and that good kind of silence, the kind that doesn't scream betrayal between the cracks in the walls. I took deep breaths, real ones, the kind I hadn't taken in years. I stopped checking my phone. I stopped questioning my worth. I stopped replaying the last 6 months on a loop in my head like some personal horror film. And then something weird happened. I started to feel okay. I even met someone. No, not like that. I wasn't ready. But she worked at the tiny local coffee shop near the cabin. Her name was Margot. She had this calm, dry sense of humor, and she never asked personal questions. She just talked about books, trees, life. She treated me like a person, not a project. And for the first time in ages, I didn't feel like a ghost in my own skin. One morning before I left, I told her the short version. No drama, no bitterness, just facts. She listened, didn't flinch. She smiled a little and said, "Sounds like you got away just in time." Yeah, I guess I did. I'm back now. Not in the same house. I sold it. Bought a small place outside of town. I planted a garden. I started sleeping again. I started laughing again. I even started writing. Nothing serious, just for me. Turns out, putting your pain into words without a manipulator twisting it into guilt? Kinda liberating. Marla's gone. And honestly, I hope she finds herself. I hope she gets the help she needs. I don't wish her pain, just distance. From me. From the life she tried to rewrite. From the man I used to be. Because that man, he's finally free. And I never needed a signature for that.